Welcome to this System Yoga Find Your Flow Vinyasa sequence, all about opening and strengthening into the hip joint. For many of us, the hips are an area that are particularly tight, especially if you've got strong pedigree in other sports or running. This area really tightens up. So just remember that yoga should never hurt and just work up until that area of sensation, and that'll be different for all of us. We'll start at the front of our mat in Tadasana, mountain pose, standing, feet hips distance, gaze softly ahead, creating that firm foundation, grounding down into all four corners of the feet, spreading and lifting the toes, firming the inner thighs, engaging the glutes, broadening across the collarbones, spreading the shoulder blades nice and wide, palms are open, facing the front, the mat. Gaze is softly ahead and start to bring attention to the breath now. In and out through the nose. Notice the length of the inhale, the length of the exhale. Slow it all down and try and keep the breath as something you're constantly aware of as we go through all the practice today. If you lose it, don't worry, just come back to it. Draw the ribs in, the navel in. Start to constrict the throat on the exhale, keeping the mouth closed. That sensation of fogging up a mirror or fogging up a glass. That's a Ujjayi breath, victorious breath, starting to warm the body from the inside. So sound like the waves of the ocean. The hips are an area that we store emotion, or said to be an area we store emotion. So when we do a class like this, where we're opening into the hips, all sorts of things can come up. So whatever comes up, let it go for the next half an hour or so on the mat. Bring the feet together. Sweep the arms out to come up as you inhale. Gaze up as the palms come to touch. Exhale, swan dive down, folding the body in half into Uttanasana, forward fold. Bring the feet hips distance, or keep them together if you want a more intense stretch into the hamstrings. Bring a bend into the knees for this first one, or for all of the forward folds you do today. I always have a bend in the knees personally. My hamstrings are particularly tight. This stops you rounding into the lower back and allows that lower back to release over time. Enjoy the sensation of head underneath the heart. Hold opposite elbows, or hands can come to the mat, whichever you prefer. Let the head hang heavy. Bring the weight into the toes. Imagine you're lifting up the kneecaps, turning on the quadriceps, helping straighten out those hamstrings. As you inhale, hands come to the shins, flat back. Exhale, hands free, the front foot, step back into plank pose. Push the ground away, firm the arms in towards the midline, tuck the tailbone. Firm the glutes, firm the thighs in. Inhale here. Exhale, shift the shoulders past the wrist. Bend at the elbows all the way down to the belly. As we move through any of those planks, you can always modify by bringing the knees down to the floor. Slide the forearms forward. So there's one long line from shoulder through to elbow. And inhale, peel chest off the mat, Sphinx pose. Draw your attention to that area of around the belly button and just dove into that, lifting it off the mat. Deepening the sensation. Exhale, return to flat on the belly. Prepare for your locust pose. Sweep the arms round by the sides. On your next inhale, gently lift arms, lift legs, lift face off the mat. Not too heavy for this first one. Warming up the back. Exhale. Back down to the belly. Hands come underneath the shoulders. On your inhale, peeling up, cobra pose, gaze at the tip of the nose. Exhale, tuck the toes, lift the knees, lift the hips up and back to your first downward facing dog, maybe of the day, certainly of the class. Grip the mat with your fingertips. Make sure you've got an equal amount of weight forward. You're not pushing back too much into the legs. Pedal out through the legs, finding areas of sensation and exploring those. This is a pose we'll return to time and time again. Great pose if you've lost the breath, just to recapture it. Bring your attention back to it, and then find stillness, downward facing dog. Inhale, gaze between the hands. Exhale, gently tiptoe all the way to the front. See how many tiptoes it can take for you to get there and arrive back into your forward fold. And inhale, slowly sweep the arms all the way back up. Gaze up as the palms touch. Exhale, hands come to the heart. Taking one more just like that as we warm up. Inhale, sweep the arms out to come up, gaze up as the palms come to touch. Exhale, swan dive down. Uttanasana, forward fold. Keep it moving this time. Inhale, hands to shins, flat back. Exhale, our hands frame the front foot. Stepping back into our plank pose, pushing the ground away. Knees can come down if you want to modify. One more full breath cycle here. Shoulders shift past the wrists, bending at the elbows on the exhale, all the way down to the mat. Preparing for Sphinx, the forearms slide forward. Inhale, peeling off the mat. This baby cobra, back bend, Sphinx pose. Draw that attention to the belly button. Can you dome it off the ground? Exhale, return the belly to the mat. The arms come back, ready for locust pose. Inhale, come right into it. Peeling arms, peeling legs, peeling face off the ground. Exhale, back to the belly. Hands come back to the front, under the shoulders. Cobra or upward facing dog. Coming onto the tops of the heels. Exhale, rolling over. Hips and knees lead the way back. The downward facing dog. Feet come together at the back of the mat. Inhale, the right leg rises. Three-legged downward facing dog. Exhale, right knee, right elbow. Push the ground away, dome out through the back. Inhale, three-legged downward facing dog. Exhale, right knee, right elbow, once again. And then right foot comes to the outside of that right hand. Come onto the blade edge of that right foot. It's really important, keeping that foot flexed. It's going to protect the knee for what we're about to do. It engages a set of muscles in the lower leg, which is going to protect the inside and outside of the knee. As we keep our hands straight and lower the hips down to the mat, sinking in. Just going to where the sensation is. Hopefully you can feel that in the hips. Doing 10 of these. Terrible at counting, but hopefully in and around 10. Do one more. Lower that back knee to the mat. Right hand is going to grab the foot of that back leg and kick back into the hand with the equal amount of force that you pull the foot in towards the glute. This is a great stretch for the top of the quadricep. And it's also going to do a good job because we're stretching that muscle in an engaged position. Gaze back over the shoulder. Kick and pull, kick and pull. Let go of that foot, make sure you don't fling it back too much. Hand comes back to where it was. Heel turn that foot in a little bit. Come off that blade edge onto the sole of the foot, preparing for our low lunge. Variation with the knee on the back of the mat. Make sure your hips distance between both feet so you're not on a tight rope. Makes that a little bit more difficult. And then inhale up into your Anjaneyasana. Low lunge, hands come to the knee, then hands up overhead, bending deeply into that front knee, squeezing the glute of that back leg. It's going to make sure that we turn on the stretch of the psoas muscle. Squeezing that glute is going to help us do that. Feel the weight of the mat in the heel. Enjoy that sensation. And keep the back toes either tucked or untucked. I like them tucked when I start and then untucked once I've gotten into it. Really nice on this. Only recently did I really start to appreciate the benefit of this pose actually, the low lunge variation. Sinking into the hips. Inhaling one more time. As we exhale, straightening that front leg, bringing our hips back over that back leg into our half splits, Ardha Hanumanasana pose. Try and keep that as straight a line as you can with your hips over it to get full benefit of this pose. Inhale, length into the spine. Exhale, fold. Down, relax the head. Keeping the hips as square as you can. Getting the full benefit of the pose. Imagine that you're trying to bring this right glute over towards the left if you feel that you're not as square as you like to be. Deep stretch, of course, into that hamstring muscle. Half splits. Again, another great pose in its own right. In yoga, we can often rush to go straight for the full splits, but so much benefit in the half splits. Couple more breaths here. Exhale, coming back into your low lunge Anjaneyasana. And we're going to walk that right foot back out to the right. We're not coming onto the blade edge this time, but walking it slightly out to the right, and hands are going to come in to frame that front foot with the right foot on the outside of the right hand. Then on our inhale, we're going to lift up our back knee, walk our hands forward a little bit. Then back knee comes down. That might be deep enough. If you want to go a little bit deeper, do the same again. Lift up the back knee, walk out the hands. And then when it feels deep enough stretch into that back leg, into that front leg, hip. Relax down onto the elbows. Try not to let the right knee open out really for this one. Bit of a contrast to the first one we did. Try and keep it nice and tight, relax down, soften in. Ton of benefit for this one. Really stretching into those hip flexor muscles. Maybe the head comes onto the wrists. A couple more breaths. From here, gently come up on the inhale. I'm going to move into our pigeon pose. So that right foot's going to come over to the left side. There's a lot of focus on trying to keep that right calf parallel to the front of the mat, but that's very, very intense and not something that I'm practicing. So it's good to have, or nice to have, a little bit of a bend. It's less intense on the knee. So the knee comes towards where that right hand is. Foot can come down here, or as close up to that left hand as you have the depth in your practice to take it. Inhaling up. Keep the hips square. If you do have a very tight glute, you can put a block, you can roll up the mat, you can put a blanket underneath to make sure you keep the hips square and also lower it down to the mat. Inhaling up, exhaling, folding down to your pigeon pose. Spend a little bit of time here. Really is a wonderful pose, this. Great pose to open the glutes, but also open the piriformis muscle. It's difficult to target that muscle. Difficult to open, often holds a lot of tension. So this is one of those poses that those emotions can really come up in. You never know what you're going to get. Focusing on keeping those hips square and melting down into the mat. Here for a little bit of time, so always come a bit deeper as we go, keeping the breath strong. When you're ready, slowly coming back up onto the hands. The right foot steps back into plank pose, push the ground away. Shift the shoulders past the wrists, bend the elbows, chaturanga, onto the tops of the feet. We inhale up into upward facing dog. Exhale, hips, knees lead the way back to downward facing dog. Pedal out through the legs. Find the breath. If you've lost it, maybe take a clearing breath out through the mouth. Sigh it out. Find your downward facing dog shape. And then ready to move on to the other side. Feet together at the back of the mat. Inhale, the left leg rises up. Exhale, left knee. Left elbow. Push the ground away. Inhale. Three-legged downward facing dog. Exhale, left knee, left elbow. This time the foot just pops down next to that left hand. Come onto that blade edge. Knee can open out to the side. Find your distance on that back foot. You can always walk this left foot in a little bit as well. Preparing for those dynamic hip openers, keeping the arms straight, sinking the hips down for 10. 4, 3, 2, 1. On the last one, that back right knee meets the mat. Left hand comes round, as the back foot bends, grabbing that back foot, kicking into it with equal force as you pull the foot towards the glute, targeting the top of that right quadricep muscle. Once again, stretching it in that engaged position. Gaze up over that left shoulder. Inhale. Exhale, letting go with control. Left hand comes back. Bringing that left foot back onto the sole, preparing for our low lunge. On this left side, as we inhale, hands come to the knees, bending deeply. Turning on the glute, that back foot, as well as we inhale, arms come overhead, sinking deeply into that left side, bending deeply into that left knee, weight coming into the heel, turning on the glute of that back leg as well, stretching into the psoas, sinking down. Enjoying that sensation, this low lunge. Exhale, half splits, straightening that left leg, folding over, head hangs heavy. Feeling that deep stretch into the hamstring, flexing that front foot. And preparing for our deep lunge stretch. Left foot on the sole, comes over to the outside of the left hand, popping up off that back knee. Walking the hands forward, lowering the knee back down. If that's deep enough, stop there. Or maybe one more, popping the knee up, walking the hands forward, knee comes down, deep stretch into the front of that back right leg, and then folding down, keeping this leg in this time, not letting it open out any wider, sinking down into it. When you're ready, go back onto the hands, preparing for pigeon pose on this left hand side. Bringing left knee towards left hand. That foot can be as far up to parallel as works to you. Putting blocks or rolling up the mat if you need it. And when you're ready, sinking down into it. Feeling that glute open, feeling release of tension. Here for another 5 or 6 full breaths. Yeah, head comes down to the mat. As you go a bit deeper, when you're ready, slowly coming out, stepping back to plank, moving through your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Hopefully both sides feeling pretty open now. Feet come together at the back of the mat. Inhale, the right leg rises.
Exhale, right knee to nose, round the spine, push the ground away. Foot between the hands over towards that right hand side, keeping the hips distance. Knee off the ground this time as we come up into our high lunge. Anjaneyasana on that right hand side, squeezing the glute again, all the same rules apply as when we're on our knee. Bending deeply. Imagining that you're pulling the right heel back and the left heel forward to scrunch up the mat between the 2 feet. Really gives you that isometric kind of stability in this pose. Squeezing that back glute. Inhaling length into the sides of the waist. Exhaling, firming, grounding down to your foundation. Exhale, folding over that front foot as it straightens, popping the heel up as well. Modified pyramid pose, deepening that hamstring stretch. Keeping the hips nice and square, staying on that toe of the back foot. Often this pose is taken with the Warrior One, back foot at 45-degree angle. Feel free to do that if that's what you do, your regular practice, but nice to keep those Anjaneyasana high lunge feet as a variation, keeping the hips nice and square. Inhale, exhale, hands come down, stepping back into downward facing dog, immediately rippling over, shoulders over the wrist, stepping the feet back, plank pose. Exhale, sink the hips in, turbo dog. Legs are engaged on the toes, arms are nice and supple. Gaze at the tip of the nose. Exhale, the knees and hips, leads back, downward facing dog. Taking that exact same move on the left hand side, feet together at the back of the mat. Inhale, left leg rises. Exhale, knee to nose, around the spine, pushing that away. Pop it between the hands as you inhale up. Anjaneyasana on the left hand side. Bend deeply into that front knee. Weight into the heel of the foot. Squeeze the back glute. Inhale, length. Exhale. Grounding into your foundation. Want to challenge yourself? Gaze up at the hands, maybe. Exhale, that front leg is going to straighten as we swan dive over. Pop the heel if you want to go deeper into those hamstrings. Inhaling, coming forward. And as you exhale, lowering that head down. Enjoying head under the heart. As we start to bring up the tempo a little bit. Inhale. Exhale, stepping back. Downward facing dog. Immediately rippling forward into high plank. Pushing the ground away, firming the inner arms in towards the middle. Exhale, sink the hips deep. Turbo dog. Engage the glute, turn on the legs. Arms are supple. Exhaling up and back. Downward facing dog. Feet together at the back of the mat. Inhale, the right leg rises. Exhale, knee to nose around the spine, push the ground away. Drop that foot in between the hands, straight up into our high crescent lunge. On that right side once again. Inhale. Exhale, straighten into that front leg, pop the heel, pyramid pose. Inhale. Exhale, stepping back, downward facing dog, immediately shifting over into our high plank, pushing the ground away, firming the inner arms, firming the glutes. Exhale, hips drop down turbo dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Feet together at the back of the mat, inhale, the left leg rises. Three-legged downward facing dog. Knee to nose around the spine. Drop the foot. Coming back. Crescent lunge on that left hand side, squeezing that back glute. Pulling the mat in between the front and the back feet. Finding that stability. Exhale, front leg straightens. Pop the heel. Pyramid pose. And the head hang heavy. Deepening that hamstring stretch. Inhale. Exhale, stepping back. Downward facing dog, rippling through vertebra by vertebra of the spine to high plank. Adjusting the feet. Sinking down. Turbo dog. Exhale up and back. Downward facing dog. Refinding the breath if you've lost it. Towards the last standing posture. I suppose the peak posture of this class, warrior two. On each side, feet together at the back of the mat. Inhale, the right leg rises. Exhale, knee to nose around the spine. Pop the foot between the hands. Spin the back foot at a 90-degree angle, facing the left hand side of your mat, lining up the heel to the arch of the foot, and spinning up into our warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Bending deeply into that front knee, keeping the torso stacked as best you can on top of the pelvis. Imagine someone's pulling your left arm to the back, pulling your right arm to the back, gazing over your right fingertips. Pushing down into the blade edge of your back left foot, pushing the quadricep into the hamstring. Creating a strong foundation. Inhaling length, exhaling depth into the ground. Gazing over into the future, letting whatever's come up in this practice, letting it go. Anything that doesn't serve you, letting it all go. Gazing over that back arm, see if it's straight, if it's dropped or if it's gone high. Try and keep it straight as you can. Imagine someone's pulling them. Couple more breaths. As you inhale, reversing the warrior. Exhale, windmilling the arms down to frame the front foot. Stepping back through plank. Bending the arms, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, up and back. Downward facing dog. Feet together at the back of the mat. Inhale, the left leg rises. Three-legged downward facing dog. Exhale, left knee. Nose. Pop it between the hands. Down at the feet. Heel to arch. Warrior two. On that left hand side. Again, bending deeply into that left knee. Keeping torso stacked over pelvis as best you can. Pushing down to the blade edge. That back right foot. Gazing over your left fingertips. Checking the right ones are nice and square. Looking out into the future. Beyond this class, breathing deeply. When you're ready, reverse the warrior on the inhale. Exhale, windmill the arms down, framing that front foot. Step back to plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, up and back. Downward facing dog, big inhale. Exhale, sigh it out. The knees come down to the mat. Coming back into a comfortable seat. Taking a couple of moments just to recapture your breath. Let go of the Ujjayi breath now. Starting to cool down the body. Our last long stretch now, where a lot of stuff can come up. Move into seated forward fold. This Paschimottanasana. Legs come down, out in front, inhale, arms up, exhale, folding forward, grabbing whatever you can, calves, knees, maybe even the feet. Keeping a bend in the knees, just like we've done in our forward folds, rather than rounding into the back. That bending knees can allow that back to open over time. And just coming as deep as your body wants, knowing that we're here for a few breaths, a fair few breaths. So you can always come a little bit deeper over time. You don't have to rush to the maximum point straight away. If the feet tend to curl out a little bit, that's the body trying to bypass the tightness of the hamstrings. So try and keep the feet so all the toes are facing you. Enjoy that sensation. Anything that comes up, letting it go, letting it pass. Inhaling length into the spine, exhaling move deeper into your stretch, into your forward fold. When you're ready, gently and slowly come out the way you came in, lie on the back, ready for our supine twist, bringing right knee over to the left, gazing over the right shoulder. And swapping sides, bringing the left knee over, gazing over that left shoulder, twisting out the spine. When you're ready, letting everything go, letting the breath go, come into your final Shavasana, final pose. Letting everything go, take one deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, let it all go out the mouth. Staying here for as long as it serves you. Thank you for making the time for this class with me. Namaste.